Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Fogcast, a Dead by Daylight podcast. My name is Thomas.
And my name is Jonathan.
And this episode, which is episode 2, is about our thoughts on Pyramid Head so far and the new event that came out yesterday. First off, we're going to talk about the shrine real quick. This week's shrine contains Hex the Third Seal, which is a hex totem that when you hit a survivor, they are blind. Hex Huntress Lullaby, which is a hex totem that makes skill checks more difficult, basically. Aftercare is a perk for survivors where if you get healed or unhook someone or get unhooked or get healed, you can see your survivor friends' auras. And Medal of Man, which has been heavily nerfed since it came out, but it's when you take 3 protection hits, then your 4th hit that would put you into the dying state is ignored.
I think the blindness perk is largely ignored as it's not seen, like it doesn't really do much when you're being chased. The only thing I could see it affecting is if you were to have something like Windows of Opportunity that gives you all of the auras of like pallets or windows that you can vault through. So I would go with Hex Huntress Lullaby. It's overall a better perk than the Third Seal, and it just does more for the killer and against the survivors.
Both of these killer perks are instantly recognizable to the survivors from the start. The Third Seal will be shown to the survivors when you hit them, and Huntress Lullaby will be shown to the survivors when they get their first skill check. So both of them are not concealable like Noed is, but both of them have a lot of potential if you can get the stacks up high. In the survivor category, we're going to have to go with Aftercare just because Medal of Man has been nerfed. It's still usable, it's just not as good as it used to be, and Aftercare can be very effective, especially if you get all the auras of all your teammates and then you can see them from basically across the map. The only problem with that is when you get hooked, it restarts, so then you have to heal everybody again and rebuild those auras. Anyways, moving on. So for this episode, we're going to be talking about Pyramid Head and what we think about him so far. So how have you been dealing with Pyramid Head so far?
To be quite honest, I don't like Pyramid Head in any way. He's completely... I think there's no good way to play around him.
But you haven't played as him.
I have not played as him yet. But I understand there's things like with Rites of Judgment, there's a little cooldown. Like if you throw it out, it does slow you down, and that's something that I've had a problem with is Rites of Judgment in it being kind of unstoppable, where even if you stun the killer, he still has the chance to throw it out. And
you have to play that like you would play a Huntress, where you have to watch if he's going to wind up for that Rites of Judgment to try to hit you through a pallet. The same with the Huntress, where you watch to see if she's going to raise her arm to throw the hatchet at you through the pallet. So you kind of bait that and run around it. That's how you avoid that. But the cooldown is not enough, in my opinion, for the Rites of Judgment, because if you start pallet looping, he can almost infinitely just throw that at you until he finally does get you down, unless you leave the area.
And pallet looping, too, if you're running around in a circle against Pyramid Head, he can. If you're not in Torment, you're probably gonna get Torment while you're running around with him, because you're gonna walk into his path.
Right. He'll leave a small trail, even if it's just a little small bit of that trench that he digs. It'll put you into Torment. So even if you don't get hit by that, you're going to be put into Torment and then get sent to the cage, or if you're in Struggle, then you'll get moored. So one small adjustment that I think needs to happen for Pyramid Head is the cooldown for his Rites of Judgment attack. I'm not quite sure if it would work if you were to take away all of his charge when he sent out the Rites of Judgment, because it would instantly start charging up again and then you could do it all over again. And it also wouldn't work if you needed a full charge to send out the Rites of Judgment, because as soon as he plants his knife in the ground, the charge starts going down. So it's not really possible to do it at a full charge. I'm not quite sure what they could do with that, but I think that's something that needs to be worked around.
And with the Rites of Judgment, it can be sent through walls. So if a killer has some sort of idea where you are, if you're on a gen, if you're hiding in a corner, if you're around a wall, they can just freely throw out the Rites of Judgment in your general direction, and chances are you'll get hit.
Yeah, on that, I've seen people get some really really good snipes with the Rites of Judgment, but I've also seen a lot of times where it was supposed to hit but it really didn't, when I was playing as Survivor, or even when other people were, that it was like you can see the little line where it's going to go down. If it's on top of them, then it's supposed to hit, but it hasn't. Another thing that I think has to be changed in regards to Pyramid Head is the torment effect that he has on survivors. I understand that it's semi difficult to get the survivors into the torment in the first place, but I think that there should be another way out of the torment stage besides just being sent to the cage, because currently the only way for a survivor to get out of torment is for them to be sent to the cage of atonement. I would like to see a second way out, such as where, like, how Freddy has his dream boxes that kind of wake you up from the dream state. Something like that. I think if they made Pyramid Head's Rites of Judgment attack put you into torment, but they also added a way out of a second way out of torment for survivors, I would accept that compromise. Because currently the Rites of Judgment attack does not put you into torment, but I think if they made a better cooldown for Rites of Judgment, made it put you into torment when he hit you with it, and added another way out of torment for the survivors, I think that would be more balanced than what it is currently.
Another thing about the torment is if you have already been hooked and you are in torment, 9 out of 10 times you're going to get Final Judgment, which is just a glorified Mori. And I think that it should be harder for Pyramid Head to be able to do Final Judgment on someone. I don't think it should just be hooked once in torment and then you can get Mori'd. I think that they should add something or make it just ever so slightly more difficult for Pyramid Head to be able to Mori you. That's the only problem I have with that.
I don't personally have a problem with the Moriing as much as other people have. I think that it's semi difficult to get survivors into the torment stage in the first place. Plus, if you're going to try to get either more blood points or adept Pyramid Head, you can't Mori the survivors, I don't think, because you won't get Merciless Killer if you Mori everyone. They have to be hooked like 2 or 3 times each in order to get Merciless Victory. Along with Pyramid Head, the 4th anniversary event came out yesterday for Dead by Daylight, and along with it came some interesting mechanics, I guess you could say. First of all, the pedestals with the crowns on them. If you go in, you find these pedestals spawned one at a time around the map. You pick it up, and if you escape as the survivor, then you get a crown cosmetic for that survivor. And if you're the killer, then you just pick it up and you finish the match. You don't have to kill everyone, you just have to finish the match. You get the crown cosmetic. I've seen this causing some issues where some survivors are just sprinting around the map looking for the crowns. And I'll admit that when I got into my first few games, that's what I was doing also because I was hyped about these crowns and I wanted to get some. But once I started playing some more, I realized that just playing the game and keeping an eye out for the pedestals was way more effective, and it was leading to me getting more crowns that way.
It also creates some sort of like competitive aspect between survivors to be able to get the crown and then just not have to worry about it. Because normally when that kind of stuff happens, like if there's something you need to collect, you just want to get it so that you have it out of the way and you don't have to worry about it. So then you can actually play the game. But if all four survivors are just sprinting around the map trying to find the crown, it's just gonna it's gonna make the game extremely difficult for both killer and survivor because both people on both sides are just gonna be sprinting around looking for a little crown.
Right. Plus, if you already have the crown during the trial that you're in, you're gonna want to escape more than to help your teammates out because you want to get that crown cosmetic. And also, since there's only one crown on the map at a time, it's kind of like a race to see who can get to it first, basically. Even though another one spawns after someone collects it, so everyone has an opportunity to get one during the match. It just creates that competitiveness even more so than it was before. We've also got some pretty cool looking cosmetics for the Deathslinger and Claudette with the yellow kind of cracked look that the 4th anniversary has been going with. So be sure to sign in to the game once a day to make sure that you get those cosmetics. Also, they had 2 anniversary charms that are these are all limited to the event going on right now. So be sure to log in each day to see what's in store. Also, the event items, the med kit and the gâteau and the flashlight, they're all super effective items, and they release a little confetti when you use them. Like if you blind the killer with the flashlight, it releases some confetti. So if you weren't going to get tunneled already for having a flashlight, now there's some confetti and a underwhelming like party noise that comes along with it. So final thoughts on Pyramid Head. I think he's a very complex killer, way more complex than any of the killers that are currently in the game. He has a lot of stuff that he can do. He just needs a little bit of tweaking to ensure that he's the most balanced that he can be, and so that it's fun for everyone.
Just like most killers in Dead by Daylight, there are definitely some builds that people have yet to find that could make this killer very hard to deal with. But that's just a part of the game, and that's why I think it's so fun. But like Tom said, with a little bit of tweaking, he could definitely be a very enjoyable character to play and play against.
That'll be all for episode 2 of the Fogcast. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to stay tuned for more insights on Dead by Daylight. We'll have weekly episodes with different topics each week. We'll talk about the shrine each week. Stay safe out there in the fog, and thanks for listening.